Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection to the person that you are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. We will be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll be looking at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story, so we'll be looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings. They are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation, if there is anything, and leave what does not. The other thing is that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that's totally fine and totally normal. Again, general readings, take what helps, leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, let's jump on in, Sagittarius. Let's see what we have been dealing with. All right. Sagittarius' energy toward the person they are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. Sagittarius' side of this connection. Separation. Okay. Contract. Connection. Interesting. Okay. Well, considering the first card was separation, I feel like we're definitely reading about someone that you are at a distance with. Whether that means like you are still like in each other's life, but there's just like an emotional distance, or there's like no current communication at all. I feel like you are still very connected to this person with this connection card. I feel like there's definitely this energy of like still feeling their energy or still feeling very attached to their energy or connected to them. And I feel like it has made things really hard for you. This contract card indicates that there is, to me, like the way that I see this is like a soul contract in place with this person. And soul contracts are something that I encourage you to do your own research on if you're not familiar with them, because I think that they can mean something different to every person in terms of like the purpose that they have in your life. For me, there are people in the past that I've had, you know, certain soul contracts with that I've learned, and like the way that I really view that is that I agreed to meeting that person in this lifetime for some reason. Whatever that reason might be, is dependent on the connection. It might be to learn, to grow, to heal. It might be to face myself in a lot of ways. I mean, I think you literally had the mirroring card here. So the way that I really see this is that there is this deeper purpose for this person in your life. And I do feel as if whether or not you realize it, your soul was really guided to them or driven toward them for a certain reason. And that might be so hard for you to believe because maybe it has been so painful. You're like, there's no way my soul would choose this. Like, there's no way I would choose what I'm going through right now. But we have to often remember that the purpose of, the goals of our soul and the goals of our ego are very different. And sometimes our ego can't understand why something is happening when it is happening. But that is a long-winded way of saying, just to summarize, I do feel like you and this person are at a distance. There's separation here, but I feel like you can't seem to really shake it. And a big part of that is because there is a deeper reason as to why you and this person have met. All right. This person's energy towards Sagittarius. I can already tell we're going to get deep in this reading. If you've watched my readings in the past, you know that I tend to get deep in a lot of them, but I feel like specifically with this one, it's going to get deep. So, okay, dead end. Interesting. This person's energy toward Sagittarius. And I feel like this is there. It's like when I see this dead end card, wild card, oh my goodness. When I see this dead end card, I often see that as like they've reached the extent of like their capacity. A better way of saying that is like where you wish that this connection could go and how they're capable of showing up for it. There's a discrepancy between that. Now with this wild card energy, I feel like this person is very unpredictable, yet predictable at the same time. It's almost as if you're like the things that they've done or the ways that they've have behaved. It's like it's come out of left field, but it's almost as if it's kind of that like I'm surprised, but I'm not shocked, or like you know what I'm trying to say with that? It's like they showed their true colors, and I feel like although that was very painful and maybe caught you off guard, it's almost like you look at it and you're like, but that makes sense because of who this person is and how they tend to behave. Doesn't mean you deserve it. Doesn't mean that you should have seen it coming. It doesn't mean that I'm saying, oh, I should have seen the red flags. That's not what I'm saying. But that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this person, because I can already tell based on how you're feeling that they definitely did something to hurt you in some way. All right, truth of the connection between Sagittarius and this person. I didn't turn all the way around or hit the table, which is what I like my cards to do. Trapped. See, I feel like it's like you feel trapped though in the experience of this, like in the pain that it caused, maybe feeling like you're reliving it or feeling like you can't break free from it. Even if you want to, maybe for some of you, you don't want to, maybe some of you, you're like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. Either way, I definitely feel like you feel this trapped energy. You have the sparks. I feel like you're having a hard time letting go of the good that was in this connection. Or like, okay, that's not a good way of saying that. I feel like there was a lot of good in this connection, which is why I feel like things is like why this has been so painful, is that, you know, especially when we lose a relationship, we have a tendency of, you know, kind of looking back and seeing things through rose-colored glasses and being like, oh, but remember all those good times, you know, and sometimes that can cause us to kind of feel as if we've lost something that, like, we feel like nothing we'll never be that happy again, or we'll never get to experience that kind of love again, or things will never be as it could have been if that had worked out. And I think that it's like the best way to put it is like you kind of feel really like trapped in the memories almost. And I think that makes it really hard, especially if someone hurt you, because that pain that you feel, it's like it doesn't go away. It feels like it doesn't get easier. I think it's important for you to know that you will heal from this. You will grow in ways that I feel like you aren't even expecting. And I think that you will find a purpose in this when you kind of get to wherever this is taking you. Man, Sagittarius, this is some deep stuff. So let's just keep going. I want to get the overall theme here of this reading for you, Sagittarius. Overall theme of this reading. Sagittarius, please. You know, I think that for a long time, I really fought this idea that our soul would choose to put us through painful experiences, because it was hard for me to really wrap my mind around, and it felt very, something that just felt very, like, unfair almost, or, like, it's like, sure, maybe my soul chose it, but I feel like I didn't choose it. And then I learned that that's kind of the ego's whole thing, is it has a tendency to latch on to how it thinks things should be, or how it thinks things should play out. And your soul, your intuition, your spiritual connection will always guide you to looking at things from a different perspective. And your ego will always fight that because it doesn't like to see a purpose in the painful things. It likes to, be angry, which is understandable. I'm not saying you shouldn't be angry. But sometimes that can make it really hard for us to heal and for us to get to a place of peace, which is ultimately what you deserve. Like, I've really learned that the best revenge is living well. And, sometimes we think that, like, we want the other person to hurt the way that they hurt us. But a lot of times what we really want is just to feel better. And we think that that's what's going to help. You have accept for all it's worth and changes will be made. But look at this changes will be made card. Like, the way that you're changing through this experience, I feel like, is going to take you to really cool places. And I think that from experience, it's hard, and I'm not saying you need to think this way or believe this right now, okay? So this isn't me saying throw away what you're feeling, throw away what you believe this experience is, and believe this instead. It's me trying to present a different perspective that allows you to surrender to the healing and kind of just ride the wave of where this is taking you. I was in and I've talked about this on this channel before, but I'm going to talk about it again. I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, a really, really just horrible, horrible relationship. 5 years ago now. It's crazy because I feel like every time I tell that story, it just gets further and further away. But I guess that's how time works. I'm pretty sure I said that word for word in another reading. But this relationship, I mean, it brought me to my knees. And at the time, I would say things like, this has destroyed me. Like, I felt like it just kind of stripped me of me in a way. And I had to completely rebuild myself from the ground up because of that relationship. And it was the most painful thing I've ever been through. Hands down, the most painful thing I've ever been through. But where I'm at now and having the relationships that I do because of the person that I became through that healing, not through because of the relationship, but because of the healing of that relationship, I look back and I'm actually very grateful for it. It is one of the best things that ever happened to me. And if you would have told me that at the time, I probably would have just slapped you and been like, no, screw off. Like, there's no way. But the whole time I was going through that, because this relationship actually is what put me on a spiritual journey. It got me into tarot. Like, it had a deep purpose in my life for many reasons other than love. But it was so horrible that it was so hard to believe that there was a bigger picture, like a reason that it was happening. And now, like, I can see why my soul chose that person and that connection, because the way that it helped me is like invaluable. It's just, it was like I said, one of the, if not the best thing to ever happen to me. So I'm not saying, like I said, you need to think that way by any means. I'm not saying you need to, but trying to look at things through the lens of this has a deeper purpose can always, always help drive you further in your healing. Especially when you're dealing with someone who hurt you. All right, Sagittarius, this side of this connection, separation with connection. We're just getting some clarity on this overall energy. Seeing what has happened here. Because I know that when you go through really painful things, it can feel like you're never going to heal. It's like, this is never going to get better. I'm never going to be at a place where I'm okay again. I'm never going to love again or be happy again or whatever the case might be. Sagittarius' side of... Why aren't these cards turning around? Sagittarius' side of this connection. Ace of Swords, the Emperor, Judgment in reverse. So yeah, I feel like you saw this person through rose-colored glasses. And I think that they turned out to be someone very different than you thought that they were. And yeah, that is really hard because I feel like the clarity of who they really were came with the consequence of you losing who you thought they were. And that, I feel like, it's that kind of grief is really hard. Like, grieving someone who is still alive and sometimes even grieving someone who didn't actually exist is, like, I think one of the most complicated aspects of the human existence, because it's really hard to wrap your mind around, like, what's really going on and what you really feel. And I feel like a lot of that is kind of what's happening here. I think that, you had, when you met this person, I feel like things felt like with the sparks, it felt like so positive and so good. And then I feel like something happened. Like I said, I feel like their true colors kind of came out, and I feel like you were really blindsided by that. And I think that a lot of times we tend to blame ourselves. We look at a situation and we go, again, like, I should have known better. I should have seen the signs. And I will agree to a certain extent that, sometimes we can always look back in hindsight and be like, yeah, there were red flags, and yeah, I ignored them, or yeah, I should have listened to my gut or whatever. But that doesn't help anything, because you were doing the best that you could at the time with the information that you had. And so I think that it's really important not to blame yourself in ways that kind of just add shame to the situation. This person's energy towards Sagittarius. This is so deep. This actually feels like a personal reading. I don't feel like this is a general reading at all. This person's energy towards Sagittarius. The Ace of Cups. It's like they had been suppressing who they really were and like their authenticity. And I feel like, I've learned that it's actually very common for people to pretend to be something they're not at the beginning of a relationship. But people cannot pretend to be someone that they're not forever. Eventually, who they really are does come out. And I feel like, because with the Two of Wands in reverse, it definitely feels like the decisions that they made didn't align with what's best for them, which means that it definitely didn't align with what's best for you either. And I feel like, when people hurt us, a lot of times what we don't really see is that they're actually hurting themselves through us. It's just that we unfortunately get in the way of that person's kind of war within themselves. And I feel like the most important thing we have to remember when we're dealing with anyone who hurts us is that it very rarely, and I would even go as far as to say almost never, has anything to do with us and everything to do with them and where they're at. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't make it necessarily easier to heal or, like, I guess, feel any better, but it does make it, I feel like it's really helpful in the processing and grieving aspect, because we can stop looking at it from like, this person did this to me because there's something wrong with me, or I'm not good enough, or I deserved it. And we can start to look at it from this place of, this person did it because of where they're at in their journey, and now I need to look at what this is trying to teach me and how I can heal from this. And that was the number one thing that I definitely had to learn with that connection, was I spent a lot of time being very upset and very angry at that person, rightfully so. I mean, they treated me horribly. But until I started kind of flipping that mirror on myself and being like, okay, well, because it felt like I could not heal. It was like I could not, I remember I was just laying in bed and I was like, man, I would give anything to not have met this person. I was like, I wish that I could go back in time, and I wish I could just have never met them because of how much it hurt. But I think that now, looking back, it's like I actually am so grateful that I did. But I remember that it was just, I could not move forward from it. I couldn't heal. And a lot of that was because I was focused so much on like, well, why did they do it? Or, what's wrong with me? Why am I not good enough? Like, why would they treat me like this? And then I stopped looking at it from that perspective, and I started looking at it from the perspective of like, what is this trying to show me, and how is this trying to teach me? And that's when the real healing started, and that's when things actually started progressing. Truth of the connection between Sagittarius and this person, because again, you feel very trapped in this. Truth of this connection, trapped with sparks. So there's a cycle happening here. And this Nine of Wands is this indication that there's something keeping it from closing. I don't know what that is yet. We'll probably see as we start to pull tarot. There's something keeping this cycle from closing that's keeping you kind of trapped in it. something, because the Nine of Wands to me is always like a blockage or in some way like something that's in our way. So maybe we'll see what that is throughout tarot. So let's start pulling for your side of the story, Sagittarius. Let's see if we can dive even deeper into what happened here, how things really unfolded. I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm speaking to that large of a collective through this reading. Sagittarius' side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Sagittarius. Whoa. The Lovers. The Five of Cups. Wait, is this in reverse? Yeah, Lovers in reverse. Five of Cups. Whoa. The way that card, there's the freaking cycle. Did you just see the way that came out? Oh my gosh. Okay. So there's the cycle. What else do I need to know about this? Could be dealing with a water sign. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Don't know why I blinked there. Okay. So there is some manipulation here. King of Cups in reverse kind of to me is this energy of like just like gaslighting, manipulation, playing on your emotions. And I feel like it's like a cycle of this happening to you. Maybe with this person like being led on, or like again somebody pretending to be someone they're not. This Lovers in reverse, it's almost as if the connections in that, especially this connection, it's like it's this reflection of this belief that in some way, shape, or form, Sagittarius, that you're unlovable. Because I feel like what happens is you meet someone, they pretend to be someone they're not, and you feel, loved or, connected to them. And then eventually as time goes on, who they really are comes out. They start to distance themselves, or they do something to sabotage the connection or to hurt you. And then you start to see it as this reflection of like, they got to know me too well, and they saw that I wasn't good enough, or they saw that there was something wrong with me. And I think that it's almost like this connection has made you feel really hard to love, or like unlovable in some way. But it's not that you are, okay? It's definitely not that you are. It's that this connection is a reflection of ways that you've been taught throughout your life that you are unlovable. Sagittarius, you view, this is getting deep. Okay. You view yourself as a burden, or like your energy as a burden, or like what you bring to the table as a burden. And oh my gosh, this is so far from the truth. It's almost as if like maybe in the beginning, you maybe even hold back who you really are, or maybe pretend to be someone you're not, because there's a part of you that believes that as soon as this person sees you for you, they're gonna, hurt you, betray you, leave, like whatever the case is. And that could come from a past of experiencing that. Like I know that if you were abandoned when you were young by like a parent, or experienced betrayal from a really young age, you maybe through that have acquired this belief that there's something wrong with you, or that there's something that makes you very unlovable. And I feel like this person brought out all of that grief. It feels like reliving like a really early or really painful trauma, almost like all over again through this connection. And I think that, I have learned that our childhood kind of sets us up for our adulthood in a way, right? We learn certain limiting beliefs from our younger years that we internalize as adults, and then we really spend the rest of our adult life trying to unlearn those things. And I think that I've learned that the childhood that we're given are the lessons that we're meant to learn in this lifetime. Set us up for the lessons we're meant to learn in this lifetime. And we can either choose to understand that that's happening, or we're completely unaware of it and we just kind of repeat cycles over and over again. Well, I feel like this connection was placed in your life so that you could heal these deeper wounds that existed within you, so that they were no longer going to be reflected back at you and other people. But in order to do that, it's almost like it had to crack you open. And I'm not saying that you deserve this, and I'm not saying that it's fair, nor am I saying that it's fun. But I do feel like the deeper purpose, like I do feel like your soul signed up to meet this person to, like, for your own spiritual path and evolution. And I will say, like, I've really learned that there's always a purpose for the things that we go through, but it's not always easy to see that purpose until we get to the other side. But in order to get to the other side, we kind of have to wade through all of the feelings that come with the experience. And I feel like that's where you're at right now. But you're closing out such a major cycle in your life that I feel like you have actually been dealing with for lifetimes. Like, this doesn't feel like this is like a one and done type of experience for you. I feel like this is something that you've relived for a while. But man, Sagittarius, it is so important for you to know you are not a burden. Your energy is not a burden. Your needs aren't a burden. Your flaws aren't a burden. You know, who you are and the way that you exist in this world, it makes this world better. It doesn't make it worse. I think that, you know, for me, I did experience abandonment from a really young age. And when I met that emotionally abusive connection, they did end up, I put up with that emotional abuse for a really long time, like knowingly, and then they ended up leaving me, and it was so heartbreaking for me because I was like, man, I even put up with this person treating me poorly and still stayed and still loved them, and they ended up leaving me. Like, it, not only did they not love me or choose me for who I was, but, you know, I was hurting myself for them, and it still wasn't enough. And that was so painful on so many levels because I could not wrap my mind around what was happening. And I really learned that this person was actually bringing out certain things in me that needed to be addressed and healed so that I could have the love that I deserve and desire. Now, I will say I didn't see that until I did attract the love that I deserve and desire. And I'm not saying that, like again, I don't want to downplay how you feel or take away from your experience or say, like, you shouldn't feel how you do. But I do feel like that there is a deeper purpose for this, a bigger picture purpose for this. And I feel like the more that you can believe that, the more that you're, like, can be a little bit more hopeful through the healing, because I know how much this can hurt. I know how painful this can be. But let's see, this person's energy toward you, Sagittarius. Wild card with dead end, Ace of Cups. I want to cry right now. This is emotional. Okay, this person's energy towards Sagittarius. I've been trying to keep my readings around 30 minutes because I know they can get a little bit long, but this one's definitely going to go over. This person's energy towards Sagittarius, the Eight of Swords, the Magician in reverse. Oh, yeah, the classic. So this person, you know, the Eight of Swords is this tendency to be trapped in a reality that is a reflection of the limiting beliefs about what you're capable of experiencing. And I feel like this person, because the Magician in reverse is then not having the tools, not having the tools that they need, like, to be able to have what it is that they desire. So here's what's interesting, because you're showing up as the Empress in their energy, whether you are male or female, it doesn't matter. I feel like you're definitely showing up as someone that they could see themselves with, but it's almost as if that brings out, like, their limiting beliefs, or this belief that they aren't capable of having what you bring to the table. And so getting close with this person and them, because I do feel like they ran. I don't know in what way they did, whether it was sabotage or just walking away from this or whatever the case was, I do feel like they ran. That wasn't a result of them, like, getting to know you and realizing that they didn't like what they saw. It was a result of getting to know you, seeing that value, and that scaring themselves of, like, them not feeling good enough for it. And I feel like that's where, like, true colors really came from is like the way that they were showing up in the beginning. I do feel like they had the like good intentions. I don't feel like this person had ill intentions. I'm going to be honest. I don't. You know, even if you believe like this person is narcissistic or whatever, be very, very careful with self-diagnosing. But even if you do feel that way, like I don't feel like they went into this like, I'm going to screw Sagittarius over and ruin their life. I feel like they have the desire. I mean, and we as humans have this innate desire to love and be loved for who we really are. And I feel like they have that, but they struggle to believe that they can have that. So you show up with it, that starts triggering these feelings of insecurity in them, or these feelings of not being good enough in them. And instead of, you know, dealing with those things, because I feel like you made them feel things that they didn't want to feel. And instead of dealing with that, I feel like they decided to not. And so however they acted was a result of their fear and insecurity, and not a result of like them trying to hurt you, or like feeling like you weren't good enough to be treated well. And I think that that's where it's so important to understand that, and I know I talk about this a lot on this channel, but it's so important to understand that people and how people treat us and the way people act, like it never has anything to do with us and everything to do with them. And I do definitely feel like this person's behavior was unpredictable, but like I said, it's almost like it was exactly, it's like unpredictable or unexpected, but not surprising in some way. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with understanding that I feel like you saw who this person really was from the beginning, but I feel like you loved them and cared about them, that you were willing to kind of hold on for that potential, which is understandable, okay? I'm not blaming you at all. But I have absolutely learned that the number one way we set ourselves up for heartbreak is by holding on to what somebody could be instead of who someone shows us that they are, because eventually who they really are is going to be something that we can't avoid, or something that's going to end up hurting us at the end of the day. So, you know, I think that this person and their purpose in your life, it wasn't just, I don't feel like, I feel like it's important for you to know you're not just going through this just to freaking hurt and be miserable, okay? I know that it can feel like that, but I feel like this connection is really trying to help you close out some lifelong, if not life's long cycle that has kept you from being able to be loved and valued appropriately and in the way that you deserve and desire. And just know that you do deserve more than this. And I feel like this is actually helping you bring you closer to that. And you might not understand that now. And I know not everyone's path is the same, but I do know that, you know, those deeper, those situations that hurt the most can sometimes lead us to some of the best things that ever happened to us. It doesn't happen right away, and it does take intentional work and healing. It's not something that we can just like sit back and wait for. Like, we have to face the pain, we have to face the experience, we have to learn from it, we have to grow from it. But if we're willing to do that, and we're willing to see where it's going to take us, it most times gets so much better than we even think that it can. So we're going to hop on over to the extended, diving even deeper into this somehow, looking at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align with your higher self. You have Trapped with Sparks and the 9 of Wands, and then I have an advice card to pull for you at the end. Thank you so much, Sagittarius, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Sagittarius.